We sat at the table in the bungalow, sipping cocktails. My wife Briana teased me about being jealous in front of our companions. She claimed I'd spent the entire vacation secluded in a room, envious of her activities. Eventually, I rose, snatched the remote, and activated the projector. The room fell silent with surprise. Our friends hadn't anticipated seeing what I displayed. My wife Briana and I, alongside two other couples who are our close friends, embarked on a 2-week holiday to a posh Caribbean coast resort in Mexico. For the initial 2 days, the 6 of us reveled in each other's company. We savored breakfast with an ocean view, lounged on white sand beaches, and bathed in warm, turquoise waters. During afternoons, we hired kayaks or lazed under palm trees, sipping cocktails. Evenings found us all socializing at a waterfront eatery, sampling local delicacies, conversing, and laughing long into the night. On the 3rd day of an exceptional trip, Briana found herself capturing memories by the sea, declaring it the finest vacation of her life. However, misfortune struck when I stumbled getting out of the water onto the boat during an excursion, causing a severe back pain that hit a nerve badly, making it difficult for me to straighten up. A hotel doctor examined me and strictly ordered rest, ointments, and bed confinement, instructing me to remain motionless until the pain subsided. Briana grew upset and wished to stay with me in the room. I persuaded her to enjoy the remainder of the trip with our friends, as I didn't want her vacation ruined because of my back. Reluctantly, she agreed. Closing the hotel room door behind her, Briana left me alone in bed. I believed that my actions were selfless by allowing her fun. Unbeknownst to me, this very decision set off a chain of events that eventually led to Briana's infidelity during this very vacation. Spent an entire solitary day enclosed by walls lined with medications, while my friends reveled in the sea and snapped photos on the shore. Briana persistently sent me beaming beach selfies, expressing her longing for my presence. In the afternoon, they departed for a scheduled reef diving expedition, leaving me behind under the air conditioner. By nightfall, Briana was back in high spirits, recounting the vibrant marine life of the Caribbean Sea she encountered during the dive, her eyes aglow with excitement. Despite feeling isolated and wretched all day, I managed to hide it, genuinely delighted for her experiences. The following morning, Briana stirred at 7 o'clock, eagerly preparing for the beach with a noticeable eagerness. It was peculiar how early she rose, considering her preference for late morning slumber. I well knew our arrangement was to sunbathe post-breakfast, closer to 10. However, I was taken aback when asked so early, "Sweetheart, why the rush?" She explained that the morning sea offers a serene, breathtaking beauty when the beach is deserted. Her intention was to swim sans crowds and capture some excellent photos. Her reasoning put my concerns at bay, allowing me to return to slumber. The following day, I felt refreshed, finally sharing an evening meal with Briana and our friends at a seaside bistro, savoring a cocktail. As the night progressed, everyone took to the dance floor and Colin joined me. We conversed for a while, then unexpectedly, he presented his phone. On the screen, I saw Briana standing on a boat beside a sun-kissed diving instructor. He had his arm around her waist, and she was looping hers around him. Both appeared blissful in that snapshot. Dazed, I scrutinized the radiant screen as the music echoed loudly. Swiping through each picture, I examined multiple shots of them on a boat, suggesting a bond beyond mere diving tutorials. Their gazes, their intertwined body language, left no room for doubt. Colin disclosed that while I was recuperating in our hotel room, Briana was reveling with this diving instructor without restraint. Based on his narration, they were inseparable during all group activities, seemingly unaware of the presence of our other friends. The truth from Colin was difficult to accept, yet the most agonizing part was that Briana appeared oblivious to concealing her actions from our companions. This act of infidelity, played out before everyone's eyes, was more damaging than anything else. As I lay in our room with my troublesome back, she was out enjoyment with another man, openly flaunting it among our companions. I remained seated at the restaurant table a while longer, clutching Colin's phone. Subsequently, I transferred all those images to my own device. Once done, I handed the gadget back to Colin, expressed my gratitude, exited the eatery, and promptly made my way to our hotel room. Upon entering the vacant space, I closed the door and settled on the bed in the dark. My thoughts raced, struggling to comprehend how a seemingly innocent getaway had spiraled into such turmoil. I acknowledged that our entire vacation was spoiled, leaving me to contemplate my next course of action. That night, upon returning from the restaurant, sleep evaded me for hours as the tumult within me boiled over from doubt. I vehemently resisted believing the reality of the situation, seeking any rational explanation for the photos on Colin's phone. I repeatedly convinced myself it was just the boat swaying, him merely supporting her to prevent a fall, and their hug being nothing more than typical resort courtesy. The following morning, I inquired about Briana's diving experience from the previous day, hoping for an honest account of her feelings and perhaps some mention of the instructor himself. However, she responded dryly that she enjoyed it tremendously, swiftly redirecting the conversation to another topic. When directly questioned about the diver, Briana paused momentarily before sarcastically asking me if I was envious of him. She then laughed dismissively and departed for the beach, leaving me solitary in our hotel room. Her reaction, coupled with her laughter, were clear attempts to brush aside the entire matter. Sitting on the bed, I gazed at the door, appalled by her casual deception. It was a strategic tactic to make me the issue, rather than answering my direct query. A common occupation didn't involve another man grasping my wife's waist. I had reached my limit in this room, accepting her justifications and attempting to understand what I had witnessed on Colin's phone. I stood up, deciding to stop engaging in these games. I departed the room and made my way towards the beachfront bar to obtain some cool juice and relax my nerves. My back was mostly healed, and our company had previously arranged to gather by the pool after lunch. I had anticipated Briana being somewhere on the beach with the rest of our acquaintances. As I approached the bar, I came to an abrupt halt. I saw her. She was seated at a table with that specific diving instructor. She was whispering something to him, smiling and tenderly touching his arm. They were even sharing a single cocktail, consuming it through 2 straws from the same glass. Engrossed in each other, they disregarded everyone else in their surroundings. I tread softly past the terrace, approached the bar counter, and activated my phone's camera stealthily. For 2 minutes, I discreetly captured them on video, noticing her tenderly touching his shoulder, whispering in his ear, and giggling at his jokes. With this man, she seemed happier than she had with me in the past few months. They continued to converse intimately, completely oblivious to the other resort guests. I subsequently switched off my phone, stayed there for a couple more minutes, and it was then that an idea took shape in my mind. There was no need to create a public spectacle or engage her immediately. I requested a separate bungalow for our friends from the receptionist for the night and paid for the reservation. Subsequently, I departed the lobby and moved towards the pool. In the evening, we all assembled in the beach restaurant bungalow that I had reserved. The ambience was delightful, soft music played, the waves hummed softly, and an array of tantalizing Mexican dishes with chilled beverages adorned the table. Briana, savoring her break, erupted in hearty laughter, sipping on her drinks. Oh, how envious she must feel. My wife quipped playfully in front of our company, flashing me a side-eye and mimicking my queries from earlier, transforming my doubts into an amusing anecdote for the entire gathering. And then I rose, seized the remote, and activated the projector. Stunning views of the Caribbean Sea from our getaway unfurled on the wall. There, friends waved cheerily at the lens, frolicked in the azure water, and posed against a backdrop of palm trees. As the images captivated the table, everyone reminisced about the trip's initial days. Then, the photographs emerged on the screen, the very ones Colin had given me earlier. An instant hush filled the room. Everyone froze, fixed on the wall where pictures of Briana and the diver alternated, showing them embracing on the yacht deck, sitting at a remote table, Briana tenderly caressing his hand and sharing one drink from 2 straws through 1 glass. The smile vanished from Briana's face as she paled, fixed on the screen, realizing she couldn't make a light remark about it. She abruptly rose and hastily departed from the restaurant. I grabbed the remote control and switched off the device. The soothing sound of the sea outside was the only thing that interrupted the silence. Upon my return to the hotel and entering our room, Briana was already there. She began to loudly protest immediately. She was enraged, directly accusing me of spying on her, calling me excessively paranoid. She continued shouting that I had destroyed her entire vacation over a completely innocent flirtation. She assertively declared she was entitled to enjoy herself since you opted to be confined within walls daily. Claiming entitlement to fun, I calmly responded, "Indeed, that rule applies to us both." That night, I didn't engage in any further debates with her. The following morning, upon waking up, I swiftly went to the main administration building of the resort's dive center. I presented evidence to the general manager detailing their employee repeatedly misusing his paid work hours for leisure instead of ensuring guest safety on the water. I displayed video recordings as proof. I emphasized to the manager that if this individual persisted on the premises, the incriminating footage, coupled with a scathing review about the hotel's safety protocols, would be broadcasted across all significant travel platforms online. At such an elite resort, the potential damage to their reputation and the swift loss of affluent clients overshadowed all else. The diving instructor was dismissed by management that same day. I never spotted him along the coast during the remainder of our journey. After that meal, a profound change occurred within me. I fully grasped the extent of my wife's deceit. When my health condition prevented me from fully appreciating the vacation with her, rather than standing by my side, she not only misbehaved, but also publicly humiliated me in front of our companions. My dignity was gravely harmed. I ceased to accommodate her and pushed her out of my thoughts entirely. For the rest of the week, I acted as I pleased, disregarding Briana completely. I attended beach parties, spent my days sailing on a yacht, and returned to our room only at dawn. Briana was tense and frequently lost her temper, but she understood she was to blame for the situation. On the shore, I encountered an attractive local woman whom I invited to join us for the night. When we assembled at the restaurant, I strolled in linked with my new acquaintance. I comported myself effortlessly, made light-hearted comments, and devoted all my attention to her, blatantly disregarding my wife. Briana could not abide this spectacle. She rose from the table, hurried to our room, crammed her belongings, and relocated to another section of the hotel. I realized that this was the moment beyond salvation for our relationship. There was no going back. We returned home separately. The entire vacation had been spoiled beyond repair, and our relationship had been devastated completely. Upon returning home, I informed Briana candidly that the events in Mexico had ultimately wrecked our marriage. I no longer trusted anything she said, and saw no reason to try to mend or rebuild anything, which was why I was filing for divorce. In an attempt to protest, she offered up excuses and persistently mentioned her account of harmless flirtation. However, my decision had been made entirely. Her words no longer influenced me. A void and deep disillusionment took hold. The very next day, I presented her with divorce papers. We engaged a lawyer to distribute our belongings, hastening the legal proceedings. Our 2-week getaway to the Mexican Caribbean coast, intended as an idyllic holiday with friends, had instead wrecked our lives. The narrative had come to its end, and I was prepared to close this chapter permanently. This is how the vacation unfolded. Should the husband have exposed her in front of their friends, or could he have resolved matters privately behind closed doors? Perhaps then there might have been a chance for reconciliation, but at that point, was it still viable? Share your thoughts below. Subscribe to receive more anecdotes like this one.